It is Thursday on Raid Shadow Legends, but you knew that, and for some of you it might be Friday. Now, Raid has, some say inexplicably, been going on for quite a long time, when they've been releasing champions every month, and naturally, updating a game is hard. It doesn't have to be, but they choose to make it difficult. They update 2 champions every month. They could do 5 to 10 if they really wanted, but it's easier just to try and inflict learned helplessness onto us. And there are some champions who have been around for quite some time. I could use a bit of attention. Now, I know this is going to be another one of those, buff these champions list, but, well, we're not going to nerf anything, are they? So, might as well try and go for it the other way. Now, before we go any further, I'll say that none of these champions are useless. There are no useless champions in this game. There are simply some you'll use more often than others because, sure, you have all those void legendaries and mythicals, etc. But what do you do if you're trying to do something where you're not allowed to use those? You've got to, like, downsize or something. So, to begin, we're going to go with champion as old as the game itself, and that is going to be Black Knight. Now, back in the very, very early days of Raid, Black Knight didn't even place the strong version of increased defense on this skill. He placed the weak version, and these scaled off his attack stats. So he's been buffed once, but he's still kind of weird. So the main issue here is he's got the old design where he's kind of spread out across 3 different roles. You have this, which requires accuracy and gives him a supportive role, an offensive supportive one. You have this, which is sort of a healer, team defender, except this doesn't buff him because he scales off HP and not defense. 2-turn cooldown, which is fine, I guess. And then you have this, which just does damage. Scales off his lost HP, sure. That's why he has this, but this doesn't hit particularly hard, and this is a non-attacking skill, so if you're building crit damage on him, this is going to do nothing. And again, you need accuracy, so that's another stat to make him useful. So I feel like this should just not check accuracy. It's got a lower chance, maybe, I don't know, or at least have resist to accuracy conversion. This should give another continuous heal, because we have better options in the game. And this should just do more damage or shred defense based on the amount of HP he has lost. And yeah, also, he's one of those HP champions who has less HP than Trunda, but you've heard it plenty of times before. The other one is going to be another, I mean, obviously it's this guy. In terms of outdated champions, you don't get much more than the guy who was straight deleted from the game by the change to how bosses take fixed max HP damage. So now he's pretty much worse than Cold Hearts, and we have many other champions in the game who do percent damage much better than he does. So I feel like this should either hit twice or be an AoE. This should have max HP scaling but on a lesser amount, similar to a Crizia A1, and I mean this is kind of okay, I guess. And his other issue is that, well, he's a squishy attack champion, so he's just going to be hard to keep alive, unlike someone like a Crizia who has 50% DR against AoE attacks, and Hosku is a HP champion. Alright, so moving on, the next one is going to be the one you saw in a thumbnail, and that is Ethos. Now, some people are going to think, hang on, what's the matter with him? Well, the issue with him is that he's really not special anymore. Back then, a champion of Void Legendary having double AoEs was really strong. You could clear dungeon waves and farm campaign and potentially kill arena with it. But the game has moved on to a point now where dungeon waves are too tanky for him to blow up. Arena's got way too much mitigation effect that he can't break through. And bosses require max HP damage, which he doesn't have anywhere at all. And his complete lack of self-defense makes him suffer regardless. So this should probably destroy more max HP and give him a shield based on damage dealt, so you can at least try to use him against something like Scarab if you're really desperate. This should have max HP damage, so he can now be used against bosses, in addition to just waves. And this shouldn't check accuracy, because otherwise he doesn't need it, and he should and he's trying to focus on attack, crit rate, crit damage, speed, and where's the 5th stat come in? It really doesn't, unless you're really, really good with your gear, and most of you aren't, and if you have really, really good gear, then you're not putting it on current ethos. I'll tell you that much. Alright, so next is... This one I will say is the most outdated champion in the game. Not ethos, this one. Because first thing about Elder Skarg is passive. Okay, so he's a bit better against legendary champions. That's great. What's come out since? Oh, mythical champions? Wow, incredible! And he does absolutely FA against those. Then you have this, which has a million conditionals. It's if this, and yeah, can't it just place all of these? Would it really break anything at this point? Same with this. Okay, so why don't you do all of them? It doesn't shred mitigation, and this is fine. Increased speed on a left click is fine. That's okay. Increased defense. Well, he's an attack champion. You're gonna try and make him tanky. He's not gonna be tanky with these stats. I'll tell you this much. So just let this do everything on everyone, including bosses. Because okay, decrease speed and provoke on the same skill is great for, you guessed it, Hydra. Make him take 15% less DR overall, I guess, or have his skill to mythicals. He's not gonna like counter mythicals, but if he's gonna be a Kingslayer, then you don't have anyone more king-like than mythicals, and this should just work for everything anytime he's damaged, because, well, his skills have attack. So, yeah. Next is, and I got this wrong way around, but it's gonna be Roshkard of a Tower. Now, Roshkard was great back in the day because he'd do this, except now we have other champions do this as well. Helikath does it way better. Alsgore Crimson Horn does it better because he full heals, I believe, and just does more in general, and the rest of Roshkard's kit is just, well, single target effect. Like, sure, this doesn't check accuracy, that's great, but you're not really using him for that, unless it is, like, limited content. Like Curse City! No, get the spray bottle away from me. Stop, stop, stop! Anyway, so, yeah. I feel like this should place something else, like increase crit damage or increase crit rate or something to help the team a bit. I know zonal protection, increased crit damage is kind of, they don't do the same thing, but it needs to provide a bit more than just this one buff. This should at least go to 100% and not check accuracy, because if this doesn't require it, why should this require it? And I'd say make him hit a bit harder, but no one's getting more than damage regardless. He's just an old champion who barely gets used nowadays. Okay, so I mentioned him last time in terms of legendaries who fell off, but here's Ignatius again. He's really slow. He's supposed to be this big hitter, yet he doesn't shred mitigation at all, and doesn't have increased crit damage, and this is only a 25% chance of stun. We have epics who look up to about an 8% chance of stun from left click nowadays. This isn't a guaranteed provoke on a 4-turn cooldown, and this is a 5-turn cooldown. We have Walking Tomb Drenk does this on a 3-turn cooldown. So, cut the cooldown on this, cut the cooldown on this, increase the chance of this stun, and give him some mitigation shred somewhere so he can at least do some proper damage against enemies where you can't like defense down weaken them, but the fact that he's been left for as long as he has leads me to believe that they simply just don't know what to do with him. And besides, there's so many HP burn champions in the game nowadays that adding an extra one to the pool is not going to change a whole lot. So in a way, I can see why they've left him behind. Okay, so moving over to, I believe it was Orcs. It's going to be Growhacker Blooded. Now, I know you're going to mention, oh, these are all champs you have. I mean, that's not entirely true because I don't have Ignatius. And I do have just a lot of bulk legendaries nowadays. I've been playing for a long time, and so naturally, as I just crack open Ancients and Sacreds, I'm going to accrue random legendaries. So anyway, hopping on, he's, again, they buffed him a while ago. It didn't really change a whole lot. Okay, so this health plays as a weaken, and this was cut from a 4-turn cooldown to a 3-turn cooldown, but he still doesn't hit very hard. We still have better champions in the game for this sort of thing. I mean, like, we go to epics, and same faction, same role, and this steals up to all their turn meter and stuns them for 2 turns. AoE decreased speed, that gives himself increased speed, and partial lockout. There's not really any reason to use Grow Hack, especially when healer requires legendary books, and 2 hackers an epic, who is Void Affinity, so what do you even do with this guy? Just make this do more damage, I guess. Cut this down to a 3-turn cooldown. Give him increased attack before attacking and increase accuracy in case you're struggling with those stats. Or just delete him from the game and give people a random legendary. It'll be something for the Redditors to make a topic about, like, oh, my Grow Hack is gone and I got a Harimu instead. That's incredible. No, I got an Ignatius. Oh, I'm sure they'll work him at some point. You get what you're given, and this sort of thing's not going to happen, so, yeah. Okay, moving on, we're going all the way over to Undead Hoods for this one, and it is going to be Harvest Jack. Now, Harvest Jack is another of those champions, old ones, with many conditionals on his skills, where he really should just do everything. It's like, oh, if you have increased attack, then it's decreased attack. Well, what if you just don't have it? And like bosses don't generally have increased attack, so yeah. Again, he only plays this decreased speed in a fierce place, so you can't use him against his bosses. He's purely against champions, and there's millions of better options in the game, and this is kind of fine. And I will say that he's an actual HP champion. He's got a lot more than the rest, but just get rid of all these conditionals apart from placing the sleep if a True Fear isn't placed, but change the sleep to not check accuracy, because obviously if you're failing the True Fear, it's because you got resisted or you're hitting him under block debuffs. But if you're hitting him under block debuffs with a CC skill in a way, then why do you do that apart from if you're an auto? Obviously he's one of those supportive HP champions. He doesn't hit too hard, so I'm not going to say it increases damage, but this should just do all of this as is. There's no reason why it shouldn't nowadays. It's not going to break the game. You can't say that non-conditional Harvest Jack is going to become the 97% pick rate, ban rate champion in Live Arena. That's just silly. Okay, next is Blind Seer. Now this is an old champion in both kit and visual design because, let's be honest, she looks a bit of a mess. What's going on with her hair here? She's just got bits sticking out and, oh, I don't know. So, first off, 115 speed really isn't special anymore. We have so many supports who do this. In fact, supports have this more often than they don't nowadays because supports are pretty weak role. So, Revive has been buffed a while ago. Now, no turn meter, 5-turn cooldown. What happens is block damage goes away, then they're stuck, aren't they? So, this should at least be a 4-turn cooldown, maybe even a 3 at this point. I mean, she is a Void Legendary after all. We have Void Legendaries who do far more illegal stuff than that. This should cleanse. Under Priest Brogni also places Unremovable Shield and increased attack, and has an actual passive that works with shield, so she's worse than a regular Faint Legendary for that, and increase the shield amount while we're at it. And then you have this, which this shouldn't check accuracy because these are non-attacking skills, so the accuracy stat is otherwise useless on her. And even then, it's pretty low amount. It's only good on single target, and we have way better options in the game. In terms of like single target, you have like Newt, etc., who cut turn meter by this much, regardless. That and obviously against hard mode Fire Knight. So yeah, put this up to higher chance. Doesn't check accuracy, cleanse, lower cooldown. Get to it. I know that she partially exists just to empower Physics the Unbowed nowadays, but I mean, it's either Physics or it's Mythroller, one of the two. I think it's Mythroller, actually. Answers on the postcard or on the comments. And the last one is going to be Mountain King. Now, Mountain King, at first, he was a squishy attack champion with 101 speed. They made him bulkier and slower. Then they did it again, and now he's still got the highest stat product in the game because he's got the highest HP and highest resist. I don't think anyone's got higher HP than him. But attacks the enemy. That's all it does. It's like uncommon does. Of course, he hits harder than uncommon, but all he does is single target damage. He hits pretty hard, but there's very few places to actually use him because, again, he's designed for arena because he doesn't have anything that kills bosses in terms of max HP damage anywhere. He doesn't apply any buffs or debuffs at all, and against speedy revivers or people who revive more than one champ at once, this guy alone is going to be just hitting someone, hit someone else, the support gets them both back up, he's thinking, hit him again, can you just like stop reviving people, what's wrong with you? And the support's like, that's my job, I'm a support, besides, I'm a weak role. And Mountain King just gives up and goes home because otherwise you're held hostage for 20 minutes or way too long in a classic arena battle when you're trying to push a plat. Now, obviously, in terms of the champions not being good for arena, I am mentioning there because if you're in Gold 5, you can use whatever you want. Use Outrider as your nuker if you want. In fact, I've seen people doing that. It does work because as long as you have speed up, attack up, defense down, you can use any nuker at all. But, yeah, honestly, I don't even know what you do with Mountain King too much, apart from make him scale harder, so that if he is getting kills when he comes out of control, give him some speed, maybe like Thrall Lever Mechanists, and I'd say have this ignore unkillable ally protection, just like, make it just like Georgid A3, except obviously without the defense shred that Georgid passive has, but yeah. They'll think of something, or they won't. Anyway, that's kind of 10 outdated champions who might get buffed sometime before Raid Shadow Legends 2 comes out. Honestly, that's going to be kind of funny if they just re-release the game entirely and expect everyone to pay for things new. Which they will do. You know as well as I do that they will. Okay, so final note is going to be about the Hero's Path, well, Asgardian Path. It's not particularly great, I would say. No pinpoint at all. You have to go to the Odin Dungeon for that, which I'm not doing. Also, if you want to ask about the points, I had to take Basafa out of a portal to deal with Soul Cross Stage 8, otherwise I wasn't beating it. So that's 7.5 plus some for breaking open my Prism Shard, which was an epic. I didn't get the Faction Unity, that was obvious, but this is not a hero's path to be grinding under anyone's definition, because there's going to be that Deck of Fate for Frazier, who is actually pretty good, and again, we're going to get around to it at some point. I know I'm putting it off, but I don't want to kind of like split videos over multiple things, because that's just going to confuse people. But yeah, there's that, there's a 4 fusion, which is going to be those fragments of the epics, summon the epics, level them, get legendary, so that's going to take resource off you as well. So if you are, unless you're a pay pig who has infinite energy and time, in that case, do whatever you want. In fact, in that case, I don't know why you're even bothering listening to the words of a pleb like myself, but maybe you do it for the comedy aspect, who knows. Anyway, so yeah, that's that, and we're done, so I'll let you go. See ya.